Welcome to Tactical Reviews for a detailed look at the Turn from Viper, a folding lock knife. This particular knife has come from the display cabinets, an exhibition knife at IWA, so I don't have any of the packaging to show you. We're just going to be looking at the knife on its own. This particular model is the basic G10 version. The Turn comes in a number of different handle finishes, but otherwise it is the same knife. So let's take a closer look. Even if it didn't have the Viper name on it, the Turn is unmistakably a Viper knife. All the little details and finishes are typical of the quality of the Viper brand. So we have a manual opener with the thumbstud and a traditional backlock with center position for the release button, polished spacer and backlock lever leading up to some jimping for the thumb, and with shaping in the handle that sits very nicely with your fingers. Again, quite a distinctive Viper blade profile, and it's come in even closer. Now we're right the way in here, so you can see here the nicely shaped G10 handle scales, little finish around the pivot bolt, that polished spacer and lock lever at the center position for the release button, the deep carry pocket clip. This is fixed, so there isn't an option to change side or move it to the other end of the handle. So just simple single position deep carry pocket clip. And we see sort of stepped cone shape thumb studs. M390 blade with a flat grind and an elongated harpoon style swedge. So that's all the close-up view. There's that lanyard hold there as well. So we just go slightly back out for a little bit more on handling. So I just wanted to take a look at general ergonomics and handling with a little bit more space. So with the lock released, so we've got a very smooth blade motion there when it's just running on the pivots. So obviously you would be careful, you wouldn't want to release that lock and allow the blade to swing into your hand, because that is a very smooth movement. A very easy action and positive lock. Okay, so let's move on to the detailed technical measurements. And now we're moving on to the detailed technical measurements, and starting with the weight, so 148.6 grams. the folded length, so the pocket clip protrudes just slightly there, and that's a fixed feature, so we'll include that, which makes it 11.2 centimeters closed. Make the width, widest point, so we have 39.5 millimeters. Overall length, again including that little bit of pocket clip protrusion, so that is 19.3 centimeters. Blade length is 8.2 centimeters. Handle thickness does have to include that pocket clip because that's fixed. I mean, okay, you could remove it, but let's consider that a fixed feature. So we have 18.2 millimeters. Just out of curiosity, now the scale screws protrude just a little. If I measure across those and the pivot, okay, so the widest point there, 14.7 millimeters. Handle depth, and I'll ignore the, let's call it a finger guard there, and look at the point where we've got a couple of steps. Okay, so the widest of those, 27.8 millimeters. See how the balance point is. Okay, interestingly, that's quite far back in the handle. So we have 12 centimeters from the tip for the balance point. Blade thickness, 3.4 millimeters. We know already this is a flat grind, but just for the camera, it's flat grind. We'll take the widest point of the blade for these measurements, so we'll say grind length of 24.1 millimeters and a blade depth 28.2 millimeters. So the primary bevel angle, just a little observation. I don't think I've ever mentioned this before. This is actually the test that I'm most worried about, considering I will measure the sharpness, in that I'm inserting the cutting edge into a hardened metal gauge, and if I happen to bang that edge, I will mess up my sharpness readings rather. Anyway, we have exactly, well, to the accuracy of this, 7 degrees. 7 degrees primary bevel. So, factory edge bevel measured on the laser edge bevel protractor. And we have the right hand is 20 degrees. The left hand is 20 degrees, but also appears to have a micro bevel at 24 degrees, which I'm not seeing for the right hand. So slight difference there is that the major edge bevel is 20 degrees per side, with the left hand having a micro bevel at 24. Also bearing in mind this is a show knife, this has been through lots of people's hands. Anything to do with that factory edge, it might have been knocked against the display cabinet, dropped on the floor, who knows what, before I got it. So there may be it's been touched up, and that might explain the extra bevel. But let's see what remains of that factory edge and how sharp that is. So, I did forget to do a couple of things. So before we do the sharpness, we have the point angle. So the point angle is 63 degrees. Thickness behind the edge, similarly to measuring the primary bevel angle, here because I need the more accurate vernier caliper, again I'm bringing metal to metal and always makes me a little bit worried. So thickness behind the edge, 0.57 millimeters. And we do have some rake. This is always a little bit of an estimate, but say that is 16 degrees. Yeah, 16 degrees rake. Okay, and now onto that sharpness. So center sharpness, 197 grams. Sharpness at the heel, 221 grams. And the sharpness at the tip, 199 grams. Well, thank you for joining me for this detailed look at the Viper turn. And remember, get informed, be prepared, stay sharp.